In this lesson, we're going to explore harmony and learn about how sounds affect other sounds and how to build layers of sounds with an existing melody. So to start, we have a score here that your teachers provided, and there is a melody of a very famous Bach fugue. We can start by just listening to this melody. It's fantastic. It's a very wonderful, very fast-paced melody. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to harmonize this melody. And we don't have to think about theory, or we don't have to think about a lot. I just want you to use your ears and select notes that sound good in the other staff. So we're going to start by selecting 2 half notes per measure to go along with the melody. Now, what I've done here for both teachers and students here is that I've actually selected a cello sound in this measure, and I've actually set it to sound an octave down. If you'd like to do this assignment with bass clef and treble clef, you can. I thought bass clef might be a little tricky for some, so it might be easier to keep it all in the treble clef for now. So the way I did that is I went into the parts panel and I simply just set my cello sound. I named it accompaniment so we'd have a easier way of tracking. And I just set the octave down to -1. And you could change the octave of any of these instrument sounds. That way we can write in the treble clef and hear it an octave down. The only other little trick you have to know is you have to turn off concert pitch. So by default, note flight scores are on concert pitch, which will then show the actual sounding octave. But you can turn concert pitch off, and that way you can write in the same clef and it's a little easier to look at. So you can do that trick with any instrument sound in the parts panel. So we're using treble clef with the cello, and you can always change the clef here by selecting the entire measure and just go into measure and just changing the clef. So with that being said, let's get going. Now to enter notes, I just selected a note and I'm gonna make this a half note. I'm gonna use the duration palette at the top or the bracket keys to the right of the P key. Right bracket will make this longer, left bracket will make this shorter. And so I'm going to start with a G and see what this sounds like. So here's another trick. Spacebar will always play from where you're selected. Now, double clicking in the measure will take us out of play mode and back into edit mode. So let's try a B flat. Let's try this. Actually, let's go down a step and see what happens. Now let's just go back to the beginning and take a listen. You can hit the play right here. That does not sound good to me. So now let's double click out and let's try to find something that does sound good. Let's go maybe down to a D and see what happens. I don't like that either. Well, tell you what, let's just keep listening and see if another G sounds good. You can repeat the same note. That's not horrible, actually. So now we can keep going. So I'm not going to do the whole thing for you because I want you to listen and find your own. But like I said, you can go try different notes. You can use the arrow key up and down, the bracket to make it a half note, and then maybe we'll put another D here and see what this sounds like. That's kind of cool. Maybe we want to do some change. We can always play the same note here. So you can just play with this until you decide what sounds good. Find the best note that sounds good, and you don't need any accidentals. Now, once you're complete this whole accompaniment and find notes that sound good with all of this melody, and it's just a short melody, then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to select all of these measures and use the colors to highlight these blue. Because we're going to consider these your first notes, the root notes, the ones that you thought sound the absolute best. So it's good to remember what note you added first for the next step. Now the next step is we're going to create a little more harmony. Now we have a single note that goes along with the melody. Now I want you to go back and go into each note, and you have to use the mouse, and you can select which note you want to add as harmony. So maybe I'll do something like this. I'll add another note here, add another note here. And again, you can just play and listen and see what sounds good. Right? And then you can move on and you can see how this is affected. Now I've lost my blue note here, so I always want to make sure that, I think I accidentally clicked into that note. I'm going to open the colors here, just make sure I get my blue note back. So make sure your original notes stay blue so we always know what the root is and what the harmony is. Once this is fully completed, you'll have a full section of harmony with a melody, and then I'd like you to share with a partner and talk about why you chose the blue notes, why you chose the other notes, and compare the harmonies and see if your ears came to the same place. Then, as an extension, you can always look and find recordings of Bach's Little Fugue in G minor, and you'll be able to listen and see how close you came. Enjoy.